Morning Drop, Tuesday, September 17th, and we're talking about Hugh Freeze's weekly press conference. What did Hugh have to say headed into Arkansas? Let's drop it on him.
You are now listening to the War Report. Drop.
Morning Drop. Joining me, as always, is my guy, Charlie 5, to talk a little bit about what Hugh Freeze had to say after a rebound versus New Mexico. Charlie, man, thanks for joining me.
Absolutely, man. I'm ready to drop it on him. Let's go.
Well, let's jump right in here. Obviously, big news of the week was Hank Brown took over as starting quarterback from Peyton Thorne. Hugh Freeze put some faith in his redshirt freshman, and his first question was about Hank Brown. Let's hear what Hugh Freeze had to say about Hank Brown's first start and what he saw on the film from the young freshman.
Coach, he seemed really pleased with Hank after his first start as QB1. Now that you've had time to review the film, what things did you note on film that you're going to work on with him this week headed in Arkansas?
Well, the game plan will be a little different, and so you won't. I won't spend too much time. None of us will. After we clean this tape up today, we'll do the few corrections that he had. Truthfully, he had three things that we need to get corrected. Other than his clock awareness, has got to improve. But he
had a few things he needed to get corrected. Now, he talked about clock management. He said that Hank didn't manage the clock well. He also went on to say, Charlie, that Hank made a couple of decisions out there that you can't make here in SEC play. What did you see from Hank? And do you agree with Hugh on some of those decisions that maybe he threw into like quadruple coverage on one of those throws? I'm sure that's one of the things that Hugh was talking about there.
Yeah, I think that actually was one of the things he talked about. I think he specified the three things a little bit later, but I think that was the last throw of the game for him. I think he kind of forced something to Rico Walker there, and it probably could have been picked off. But no, I mean, there was a rookie play clock management deal where he called a check and couldn't get the play called in before the play clock ran down. There were some of those type things that you would, I guess, expect in the first start. But I think one thing, and hopefully we don't go to this clip, but one thing he said that I thought was very impressive was that he was 100% in checking them into the correct runs.
Yes.
Which I haven't heard him give a percentage on that like since he's been here. I don't think he's ever given that statistic that I can remember. And that was like one of the big things that he said that resonated with him. And I think that just goes back to being able to do the correct things in practice and then it translate to the game. There was some adversity, man. There was some adversity with the rain, the defense giving up some plays. I think he had two drives where he came out where we didn't have the lead. So like he had two drives, I believe, where he took the lead back, in his first ever start. So like there was some adversity there and he was just kind of cool, calm, and collected and just making it happen. And I thought he made some really good touch passes, really good zip on his ball when he had to zip it in there. Overall, he did what he had to do. And it seemed like Hugh acknowledged it. And there's a few things they got to clean up, but I think that's expected.
I think it's always a great thing for the coach the Monday after when you don't have to talk about turnovers that your quarterback committed. 0 interceptions by Hank Brown, no fumbles by him. Now the running backs, that's a different story. They should be carrying the ball to class with them this week. But Hank Brown took care of the football, and I think ultimately that's what Hugh's going to be looking for from his starting QB here. Maybe you're not leaning on him to go out and be Superman and win the game, but certainly you don't want him to lose the game for you, and that means protecting the football. Now, the football is not the only thing it needs protecting. Hank himself needs protecting, and a question was asked about the performance of the O-line. Let's hear what Hugh Freeze had to say about offensive line play.
Yeah, I thought we were really solid in the pass pro, very little pressure. Tyler Johnson gave up one pressure. The rest of the time, I thought Hank stood in there and delivered the ball to the right reads, went through the progressions, but in order to do that, you've got to have protection, and I thought it was pretty solid. There was only one pressure, truthfully, other than the sprint out where they added on a rusher, which that happens. We still threw a touchdown, but But in the pocket, I thought it was pretty clean. So I think all of those guys did a nice job. Run game wise, I thought Joyner did really well. Good to see a young kid.
So offensive line, pass protection, he felt like was good. Now, here's one thing we talked about on Sunday, Charlie. Hank Brown's time to throw in this one was 2 seconds flat. My guy was letting the ball absolutely fly. He was not holding on to it, and that was a big knock on Peyton Thorne last week in the loss to Cal, was holding on to the football. What did you see there in the pass game with Hank, and how quickly he was with his trigger?
Hey, a quick trigger will help that pass pro.
It will.
Let's just go ahead and talk. This is what obviously the pocket was clean, but the few times where he did get pressure, the one in particular, 2 throws I can think of in particular, actually were both end up being completions where he took a big hit. One was the throw late in the game to Perry where he had a guy in his face and he took a hit right after it. And then the other was on a first down where he actually looked right most of the time and then scanned and then whipped back and hit Keandre Lambert-Smith on like a comeback on first down for a big gain and took a big hit there. So it's not so much got to watch, you got to think about the opponent and you got to try to find little things to see how will he perform if there's guys that get close to him. How will he perform if guys can, break that line, because the line is what it is. They got some talent. They play good enough, but they will give up some pressures at times. And how would Hank react in those type situations? And we saw, I think at least 2 examples of him. He stands tall and he delivers the ball regardless. It's not he's just not scared back there. He gets it out and he does what he has to do.
A good pre-snap reads will help you with that quick trigger as well too. So sometimes, when a quarterback can get off of his first read before the ball is snapped, reading the defense and seeing where guys are going to be open, that'll help your O-line a lot too. I think those guys will thank him a lot for that. Not having to sit there and block for 5 seconds of play. For reference, Peyton Thorne's average time to throw last week was 3.12 seconds. So that's a whole second, which is a lifetime in college football to hold on to the ball, and defense can really catch up in a second.
How much space can you close in 1 second? There's a lot of space that can be closed in 1 second.
For sure, especially for today's linemen. These guys are freaks. They move a million miles an hour.
Exactly.
Auburn was not all hands on deck on Saturday, so we had some noticeable absences there. Most notably, Cam Coleman was not available. This week is the first week that the SEC availability report will be made available, I think, starting on Wednesdays. So we asked Hugh Freeze about notable injuries from guys who got injured Saturday or did not play on Saturday. Here's what he had to say.
You mentioned you worried about Brandon Frazier's condition. Just do you have an update on him, and then the other, Cam and Tutal?
Yeah, he's unfortunately having surgery tomorrow to put a pin in his foot, so he'll be out an extended period of time, which hurts us. He was really playing at a high level for us, so that's disappointing. I hate that for him, and hope he can make it back and for some key games down the stretch for sure. Cam, too tall, too early to tell. Hopeful for sure, but too early to tell.
He went on to say that Kayan Lee should be available on Saturday. That secondary needs all the help he can get. How big is it to get maybe Cam Coleman and Kayan Lee back on Saturday at the start of SEC play?
Huge. Look, I expect Cam to play. I was on the field pregame, and
he was vibing.
He was vibing. He was throwing fades to Perry Thompson. Okay, and his right shoulder is the one that he had issues with, and he was warming Perry up. That's cool about those two. They're always together. I think that's really cool because Cam gets a lot of the hype, and then Perry. Sometimes I worry he may feel second fiddle or whatever. But no, I think Cam's going to be fine. He was out there throwing footballs to Perry, and not just like little dinks. He's throwing fades like to help him do jump balls and stuff like that to warm up. You got to get him back for this game. That's another thing to think about. Hank did what he did, and he didn't have his number one weapon at wide receiver, really. Yeah. So imagine what he can do. We saw what he did in the spring game with Cam Coleman. I think they're, especially on that deep ball connection, there could be a lot of fireworks on Saturday with those two finally getting to play together. I think that's huge. Xavier Miller, I'm wondering, just how long he's actually going to be out.
Yeah. You mentioned Hank's deep ball. For the record, he was 3 of 3 on passes of 20 yards or more. Obviously, opened up with a beautiful pass to Keandre Lambert-Smith. He hit Perry Thompson on the deep one, where Perry made a great adjustment.
Catch.
To catch the ball there. And then from 10 to 20 yards, he was 2 of 3 there as well, too. So this is what Hank Brown gives you. He gives you that deep threat consistently, and he's finding those guys early and throwing with anticipation. So Auburn can use more of that on Saturday. Now, the defense left a lot to be desired. I think the secondary continues to be a worry. Let's listen to what Hugh Freeze had to say about DJ Durkin's defense.
I definitely think DJ and his staff are one of the better staffs at adjusting at halftime. But they don't lack in preparation effort either. It's just they had a lot to prepare for this, and we didn't see a lot of this. All of the X-off motions and extra tackle in the game. It was just a lot coming at us pretty fast there in the first half, but no excuse for us. Several of those plays, we're in post-high safety, and the high safety, when the quarterback starts scrambling around, decides he needs to not be a post-high safety anymore, and let me run up and try to help my friends on. No, if you're deep, you stay deep, and that happened twice. And that's our kids have to understand that and execute that. If we're in one high and you're the post safety, then be the post safety. And that hurt us a couple of times, and we didn't contain the quarterback very well. I thought we looked sluggish. Whether it was the wet field or turf or too much workload. Dom got me all the stats from last week on what all of our GPS stuff says on our workload, and it was heavier, probably because we chose to practice in a manner that we let the play go on and on with a quarterback running around, and it looked like we were tired. I thought we played slow and not very disciplined. Too many penalties, and we're not playing with poise when we're in position to make a play as a DB. And that's what I felt like. But to answer your question, I think DJ and them do a really nice job of adjusting at halftime.
So that was one of the longer clips, but essentially, I'll summarize that. I don't like the way we're starting defensively. They're adjusting at halftime, and the secondary needs to do a much better job there. We're not playing with poise. Let's stick with the secondary here, man. It's been rough.
Yeah.
It's been rough so far through 3 weeks. What do you see from Auburn's secondary there, and how big is Kayan Lee's return for these guys?
Well, at times, even Kayan Lee struggled. He struggled a little bit against Cal in some one-on-one situations. I don't really know. I don't really know, though, if we're helping the defensive backs out that much. And what I mean by that is it seems like, especially in this game in particular, and early in the game against Cal, I didn't feel like we really got after the quarterback like we needed to speed that clock up a lot. And Hugh mentioned sluggish. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of issue with that. And it's because a vast majority of the time, your pass rushers on the field were Isaiah Rakes and Zeke Walker, who are great players, but they're not pass rushers. And they surely are not ever going to be mistaken as speed players getting after the quarterback. So I'm not necessarily saying that couldn't be the case, but I just didn't feel like we utilized a lot of our speed that he's referencing there that we didn't have. I didn't feel like we utilized it to get back there, and we left guys out on an island. Positioning was terrible. I'm concerned about ball skills when the ball is in the air.
Yeah.
The touchdown pass where it was an obvious push off. Yes, it was a push off. He didn't have to push off.
Right.
Antonio Kite was not in position to make that play.
And didn't get his head around either.
No. And we're seems like we're always in chase mode. We're always in chase mode, and we're not really They were throwing that guy was throwing the ball way high in the air, like very high passes that I feel like we should have been able to camp out under at times. And we kind of are running around, chasing the wide receiver and not really making a play on the ball. Like no plays were made on the ball. It's all trying to salvage giving up a big play. I don't know if that's talent or schematics, but I think the more you pressure the quarterback, the easier it makes the job easier burden, the less burden it puts on the defensive back. I was driving home. I left a little bit early. I was driving home and I hear Andy say Auburn rushes 5 and the pass is incomplete.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? I mean, there was rushing 3 numerous times. Auburn actually sends pressure and the pass is incomplete. It makes it tougher. The quarterback has to throw faster and we don't have to run with those guys as long. So I don't know. That's kind of what I saw.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more about the DBs. It feels like, I think you described it perfectly. It feels like they're chasing the play constantly instead of making a play.
Yeah.
They're running with the receiver, but they're not making plays on the ball. There are no ball skills there. And
they can, though. They can do that. Like, Jaron Thompson, that's one of the more incredible go-get-it interceptions that I've ever seen. Antonio Kite, I jumped that pass on 4th down. I saw it. I was in position, and I jumped it. I used my talent and jumped that route. And then I think J.C. Hart made the tackle on that return. But still, they can do it, but it doesn't seem like they're really in position right now to be able to do it.
Yeah, DJ Durkin's 3-man front is losing fans by the day here. So we'll see if they have a different approach with Arkansas coming into town. Taylor Green is going to pose some similar issues that Dampier posed.
Totally.
Dampier was that guy felt like they couldn't tackle him. He was untackleable. So
I'd love to see his time to throw. I bet it was 35
like 8
seconds.
Just running around there with the ball. That's actually very funny. As a matter of fact, I have that in front of me. It on average it was 2.8 seconds, but when he was scrambling, it was 4 seconds, which is incredible. Speaking of incredible, one guy who I think is incredible, and I chose this clip because I'm going to beat this drum until he's a star in the SEC. Charlie, it's Malcolm Simmons.
I knew it.
Every time he touches the ball, this kid is electric, and I just had to ask Hugh Freeze, how can we see more Malcolm Simmons? What does he have to do? Does he need to buy you a Christmas gift? And here's what Hugh Freeze had to say.
Coach, you mentioned Malcolm Simmons and maybe getting him in on punt return. You also noted how dynamic he's been with the ball in his hands. What do you need to see from him maybe to expand his package at slot receiver on the field here moving into SEC play?
Understanding what to do on every single call that we have in the call book for that week. And that's been the biggest struggle. And I'm not beating him up at all because I love this kid. Love him. Love everything about him. And but he's 100 miles an hour at everything he does with a smile on his face. But that everything he does might be a corner route when it was not even close to what we're supposed to be doing. And he's getting better. Talent-wise, he deserves to be on the field some. So I do think it's time. I did say that before I came down. It's time for us to have a package. And let's quit trying to, all right, well, we're worried if we put him in here and, all right, great. Just give me, I'll find another box on the call sheet that just says Malcolm. And he can do, we feel good about these right now and just grow with him because he's good enough to be on the field.
Here's one thing I love about Hugh Freeze. I love the huge smile that came on his face talking about Malcolm Simmons.
He lights up every time.
Oh man, every single time. And call me I might be called soft for this, but Charlie, the connection that this coach has with some of these players to me is amazing with these young guys. And I think that it's going to pay dividends down the road. Now, playing Malcolm Simmons, I think will pay dividends down the road as well, too. They snuck him in there after Cobb you returned that kick. They snuck him in there on a kickoff, and they kicked it short to him because they didn't see that, and he almost house called it. Talk to me about Malcolm Simmons, man. Do you feel what I feel about Malcolm Simmons?
1,000,000%. Look,
All right.
here's one thing that I love about that even if Malcolm doesn't catch a pass, okay, I love that Hugh said out loud, there's going to be a Malcolm package now, because
Yes.
now
Multiple
every defensive coordinator, whenever they see him come out on the field now,
They got to
is going to
worry about
have
him.
is going to worry about him. So now, what does that open up for everybody else? I love that he said the quiet part out loud, but I also love the fact that he sees the value in, okay, this kid may not be to the point where he can memorize or he can remember the whole playbook, but he's so dadgum good. Like, we got to figure out if there's 10 or 15 plays that he can be really good at, and we can use that to get him 2 or 3 touches a game. Like, we're killing ourselves not utilizing it. So I love that. I love that he said it out loud, so other people got to think about it. And then I love the idea of just having 10 or 15 plays that he can maximize, he can get really good at, and you can get him those, those very, very valuable touches that Malcolm needs to have. Because I would love to know what his yards per touch is in general. It's got to be insane.
And crazy. Malcolm Simmons is so dynamic. You joke with me on Twitter, like, what happened to Malcolm Simmons?
I said, you got him in trouble.
Yeah. I hope that's not the case. But Hugh Freeze talked a lot about him being assignment sound, essentially. I'm paraphrasing, but he's got to know what to do when he's on the field. And at least that's a clear answer for why he's not playing more right now. It's about, understanding offensive concepts and being in the right place and running the right routes on the right plays. Hopefully he picks that up quickly, because I think he's going to be able to help this offense and this quarterback moving forward.
Yes, 100%. Could not agree more.
All right, before we get out of here, Charlie, give me a prediction for Saturday. This is our weekly tradition. I need to know Arkansas or Auburn. How much and by how much?
I said I thought this line would open somewhere around like maybe Auburn around like 5.5 to 6 points, something like that. And I think it opened around 5 and dropped to 3.5. I still think Auburn wins this thing by at least a touchdown. I really do. I think you actually have an offense that you can trust, you can kind of build off of. And I'm still leaning on the fact of what I saw in the Cal game in the second half of this New Mexico game. I think this defensive line can get after the quarterback, and I think we can create some pressure. And I think Arkansas is just only a little, I don't want to say a little bit better than New Mexico. They're a New Mexico style team, obviously better. And I think that you've seen it once and you know what to do to fix it going into this next game. And I don't know. I don't expect the defense to lay another egg like that.
The over under on this one is 58.5. You taking the over or the under here?
Ooh, I might be looking at that over. I really
okay.
I might be looking at.
I like Auburn if you're taking the over.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Guys, that's it for another morning drop with my guy Charlie 5. Charlie, before we get out of here, man, tell people where they can find you, read your stuff, follow you on social media.
Absolutely. You got to subscribe to thebarnauburn.com. It's $1 for the first month. You can get all of the inside info you can stand as far as recruiting goes, team news goes, and then the conversations in general are great. We have Friday night trackers where we watch high school games, and we're updating stats as the night goes on. Just all kinds of fun, different features that we have. I'd love for you to give it a try. You try anything for $1. If you love it, great. If you don't love it, you're only out $1. And then obviously you can follow me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5.
That's thebarnauburn.com, correct?
Yes. All right. Thebarnauburn.com.
Visit thebarnauburn.com for more of my guy, Charlie 5. Also, visit the Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 20% off that order at the Rogue Shop. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, even if it's Auburn losing, the Rogue Shop has you covered. Also, the segment is brought to you in part by the Autograph app. Autograph is your one-stop shop for all your team news and podcasts. Whether it's an article read or a podcast listened to, it all earns you points of fandom that can be used for discounts on tickets to games and other rewards within the app. This is absolutely free. Use referral code REPORT on sign up. Visit your phone's app store and download Autograph today, guys. That's it for another morning drop. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow with even more morning drop to talk more Auburn football. We're out, and as always, War Eagle.